is on the process of discovering herself, maybe growing up a little, and for me had a very big effect on my life for a couple of reasons, and I'll tell you why. So first off, I moved to New York in '91, and my parents moved there, and I didn't really know anyone. So my first friend was a childhood friend who I was reintroduced to. We fell in love with each other. She was great. And she was going to art school to make money. She was dancing at the big clubs in New York at the time, which were, in my mind, Limelight. Many of you may have been to Limelight. Peter Gatchen, pirate, club owner, one eye patch guy. He owned Limelight and also Club USA. And so some of you who don't know about these clubs, these are the clubs, the famed that movie Party Monster took place. Michael Alec was the original club kid, and I was very much sort of involved with that scene at the time. He ended up murdering his drug dealer. It's another story, but so he threw these amazing parties, and one of the best was Disco 2000, which was this great techno party, and people would just get dressed to the nines to go to these parties. Limelight was a old cathedral that had been converted into a nightclub, and so the main stage, that sort of where people used to worship, I suppose, was the main dance floor, and then there was a stage up around the top. And so my friend Suzanne there was this cage. Would come down from the top, and she would get in her little outfit, usually a bikini and some platform boots, and be suspended about, I don't know, 50 feet above the ground, so you could look up and watch her crotch as she was dancing, which was fun. And then if you're up on the second floor, she'd be right at eye level. And so I would kind of be there to keep her company, so whenever she was up in the cage, I would run around, and there were different rooms in the club. There was the bondage room, and there was the VIP room, which looked like, had lots of alien Geiger heads in there, and there was the chapel where you could go dance, and I got housed in the chapel once. If you've seen the movie, Natasha in the movie is this amazing dancer, and I got housed by a woman, or man, in an amazing drag queen who basically I was dancing and would walk over to me like this, like, and spin, right? And spin. Every time she spun, she hit me in the face with her hair. Until I finally realized she was telling me to back off, right? It was like, so, yeah, that's how. Anyway, you know, in general, the scene was really all about attitude and, of course, fashion. And that was, for me, a big deal. And the things that I remember at the time that people were wearing, it was a lot of silver, a lot of platform boots, so platform sneakers where you get your sneakers and then you get multicolored platforms on, so you walked around kind of like a robot. These FIT kids would just spend all this time and money making these costumes, you know. The ones I remember that were the best is two guys sort of dressed like twins, which you'll see in the movie as well, dressed head to toe in silver with these silver platform boots, silver makeup on their face, huge plastic globes on the top of their head with pink pieces of wig flying around inside. They would put a little motor on and move it up around. Like, people went crazy with these costumes, like, went for it. And it was just a fantasy land. I mean, I freaking loved it. And at the time, it felt, you know, incredibly glamorous to kind of be involved with this group of crazy, creative people. So when I first saw this movie, it was like, oh my God, someone knows the scene. There's someone who actually is participating in it. This is actually sort of a validation of my life, you know? The other part of it that was even more true for me was Mary, Harper character in the movie, is this fabulous, young, having a great time, and ultimately this real sense of emptiness. Like, what is this, what's the point? Like, you can only do this for so long, you know. I felt no one wants to be a 30-year-old club kid. It's just not that glamorous. And so for me, there was a lot of like, okay, I have friends who are artists, and maybe I should be an artist, and I have friends who are writers, and maybe I should be a writer. For a while, I thought about library science. But none of that really worked out, and I started DJing. Okay, maybe I'll just go right into this and DJ. So I DJed for about 6 years in New York, and it was fun. There were some good times, like to Germany. Like in Germany, they love techno over there, and so they played in the elevator, they played on TV, you know, there's TV stations, it's either like phone sex or techno, you know, like 2 in the morning, and that was awesome, and got to go to the Dominican Republic and play for people who, at the end of my set, jumped off the edge of the nightclub, which was right on the ocean, and jumped in after, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful, we're all together, you know. But ultimately, the reality is, DJing is a very, very taxing lifestyle, and at some point, after throwing parties 3 nights a week and still having to work a day job, and waiting until 4 in the morning to get paid $60 a night, after 3 to 4 years of that, I started to think maybe there was something else I wanted to do. So I had an opportunity to move out to LA, and I took it, and tried lots of different things, and then eventually was fortunate enough to sort of come back to the original part of what I liked, which wasn't library science, it was clothes, which is kind of why I got so involved in it to begin with. So I work in the fashion industry now, and it's great. I get to have still the best kind of both worlds. But what I really did and always have loved about this movie is it just captures this moment in time that I was so involved with, the music that's played. I have these records. I know these people. You know, I've been in these situations and made fun of and been bitchy and, you know, been a disaster and been fucked up and fallen over and then with all these people. And so I really, really love this movie for that reason. And also the fact that it is really a movie about a young woman kind of turning into growing up. You know, really sort of finally growing up and taking responsibility for her own life and no longer being sort of a victim of her party thing. So I don't know if there's much else to say about it. One thing I will say too is I love Parker Posey, and she is my favorite it girl of all time. Oh, like the best, and you know, she's hysterical and funny. And if you like Parker Posey, you'll love this movie. And so, without further ado, yay!